Welcome back to the Real Deal Podcast with Asher Cohen. Today's guest is Phil M. Jones. We are very excited to have you on today, Phil. Phil M. Jones is the best-selling author of 7 business books and 1 gorgeous children's book. He had his first business at just 14 years of age and is the youngest recipient of the British Excellence in Sales and Marketing Award. A sought-after advisor to global brands, creator of the most listened-to nonfiction audiobook of all time, and firm believer that almost every problem could be prevented or solved if more people just knew exactly what to say. Here to help us make more of our conversations count, please welcome Phil M. Jones. So I think the best way to start is to learn more a little bit about you as a person. Like how did you get into really what I call like the communication mastery?
So how I get into the communication mastery piece is, I'd say I'm still working on it. That's what I would still say. I still don't believe that there is mastery. There is just elevated practice. And as far back as I can remember, I've always been curious about how some people achieve results that are different than others, seemingly doing a lot of the same things. And I learned very early on in life that it isn't just hard work and hustle and product knowledge and dedication that gets you results. It's how you show up in the moments that matter and how you converse in those moments that matter that are often the biggest differentiator versus anything else. So this was like hit me in the face like a life hack that says, well, actually, if you can put time, effort, and energy into how you communicate with others in high stakes moments, you've got a fair advantage versus everybody else. And this was as early as my first businesses, when I was knocking on the doors of my neighbors and asking them if they wanted their cars washed, right through to then leading a team of people running those car washing businesses when I was 15 and making more money than my school teachers, right through to all of the roles that I've got on to be able to go and do today, having worked now in over 800 different industries and trained more than 2 million people. I still believe that the answer to every question is, if you're struggling to do something, you probably need to know exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make it count. Like, the words are what matter. How you deliver those words are what matter. And you can solve every problem in the world with the right conversation.
Yeah, so it's really taking, not just using the right words, but the right words in the right order, the delivery at the right time, right?
Yeah, it's the whole thing. And just like a good plate of food can change somebody's mood, a great conversation holds even more power than that.
So one thing you mentioned when I was at that seminar and you were speaking is you mentioned slow the process down,
Yep,
speed the outcome up.
correct.
And it was one of those moments where I'm thinking, wow, eureka moment. Let's really digest that and what that means and how people can take so much out of that for their everyday life, not only business life, but personal life as well.
Everywhere. Yeah, everywhere. And I learned it doubly loud and proud when I was doing some work with the US Marines. And what the Marines taught me was that when they go into a hostile scenario, they have a mantra that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And I'm like, well, hang on, that echoes with what I say, where if you slow the process down, you speed the outcome up. So we've got it in 2 very different conflicting environments. Is there must be some success leaving clues here. And the reason that I think it's helpful in a day-to-day life is, think about like an argument or a dispute or a conflict scenario that happens between you and a loved one under the same roof. Like, how easy can it be? Like, you're trying to solve this and you're passing blame and excuse and denial, and you're pushing friction in it, and you're trying to get to the point you're trying to make in the quickest period of time. Do you help or do you hurt? Often you end up hurting. Whereas if you could slow the process down, be more curious, get to a point that you can see things from the other person's point of view, find out what they've considered as plans forward from there, and then present them with an idea that's perhaps alternative to help them achieve what they're going to achieve quicker or faster, what we now have is no friction. And I think that's what people miss in conversation, is how much friction is costing them, how much start, stop. And in the real estate industry, it drives me crazy that people have to have follow-up processes. The only reason you have to have a follow-up process is because you dropped the ball.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a continuous conversation, there would be no need for follow-up.
Yeah. Well, and also not using that word. I learned from you as well. Do not
That's
call
right.
someone and say you're calling to follow up.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother.
No adjusting, no following up, no circling back, no touching anybody's base, right? Every pro can have elevated language than all of that lazy language that shows up on repeat.
Yeah. And slowing the process down, like how do we visually see that, right? So in my mind, it's when you're meeting with, let's say, a potential client,
Yep.
don't just get right to it, really unpack and understand what their situation is
Yep.
rather than try to just throw them into a house.
Yeah. Everything's about earning context. Before you start introducing new content, you should learn to understand their context, because content before context is merely noise.
Mm.
So how do you get more context? Is often you've got to go backwards. I'm teaching this to a lot of real estate agents right now that are concerned about the changes of what's happening in the industry that came into place in mid-August of 2024. And what they're concerned about is how they get paid and how they articulate their value. The issue is historically people have wanted to see a house, and lead or inquiries come in and said, I want to see 123 Main Street, let's go. And everything is about how quickly can I get them to the house? How quickly can I get them to the house? How quickly can I go show? And today's game needs to see that differently. What you need to be able to present your value is you need something to contextualize it. And the best place to get context is the past. The easiest thing for people to talk about slowly is their past. The second easiest thing for them to talk about is their current. So what should you be doing to slow the process down with every buyer and seller that you bump into and that you find yourself in conversation with, is ask them questions about their past and ask them questions about their current situation. Now, sometimes you might only have 90 seconds to be able to get some context. Sometimes you might have 90 minutes. Sometimes you might have 90 days. But regardless of how much time you've got, you have to spend some time slowing the process down, contextualizing the other person's circumstances. So lead comes in for 123 Main Street. Somebody wants to go and see it this weekend. How do you slow that down? You say, great, I can get you to the showing. Where are you folks living right now? And they're like, I know this one. You say, how long have you been there? They're like, I know this one. You say, do you own it or are you renting? They're like, I know this one. You say, well, what is it that's making you potentially think about a move? And they share that with you. How much context have I got in 30, 40, 50 seconds? A lot more. I could then ask questions like, what's your experience of working with a professional real estate agent? What am I doing? I'm getting context.
Mm.
Do you understand how someone like me
can
can represent you in this process?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
And then you can ask specific questions. What are you looking for in a professional real estate advisor? What are
You
what are the
can
main
ask them
things?
that, but actually probably don't know. And let me just prove this to you as well. Like, we ask those kind of questions to people all the time. What features are you looking for in your next dishwasher? Right?
Yeah, I want them to come out clean and
Right.
dry.
Right. So what happens is if somebody asks you a stupid question, you get answers back that aren't that helpful. And it's the same as like when somebody says, well, what are you looking for in a house? People don't tell you the truth. They tell you what they think of.
Mm-hmm.
You say, well, what are you looking for in a real estate agent? Well, I'm looking for somebody to help me find a great house. And I'm looking for somebody to be professional and take great care of me. You're like, okay, that's not that helpful. If I say, what is your experience of working with a professional real estate agent? Most people are going to say, well, I don't know. I say, how have you interacted with realtors in the past? And they might give me some context to that. I say, well, what do you understand about all your options when it comes to representation in the marketplace as competitive as this? They say, not much. You say, well, would it help if I walked you through your options? They say, yeah, that would be great.
It's great.
I say, obviously, you could represent yourself. You could contact every listing agent yourself, and you could try and do business with the person that is working on behalf of the seller. You could do that. Similarly, you could get your license and you could become a licensed real estate agent yourself and represent yourself that way. Or what you could do, you could work with a discount agent that's prepared to open doors for you, boom, 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 for lower prices. Or you could work with a professional that's going to do this and 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 represent you and your fiduciary responsibility and take care of this. Out of those options, which one's going to suit you best?
And have them select.
Yeah. But you can position and package and help somebody decide what one's the right way to be. But this is the game that you have to slow things down so that people can make informed choices.
Yeah. And that's the main theme for today, which is slow the process down, speed the outcome up.
Yep.
So one of the questions in regards to like AI and things that are going on right here. So the evolution of sales language in the digital and AI driven era, right?
Yep.
So in your book, Exactly What to Say,
Yep.
you emphasize the importance of precise language in sales, right?
Yep.
With the rise of digital communication and increasing influence of AI and automation, how have you seen the language of sales evolve? And what role do you think, human communication will play in the future?
Sure. Sure. And if you look back over 1,000 years, the currency that has never gone out of fashion is trust. And if we're talking about the language of sales, what you're talking about is the language of trust. When I think about the digitization of language and how people have jumped towards saying, how do I automate? How do I fast track? How do I add clones? How do I look to be able to create chatbots, etc.? The question I'd ask of people is, at what point does the risk outweigh the potential reward? And in certain industries, it's crystal clear. You look at a customer service department for a hotel group that people are looking to be able to check in early. People are looking to be able to find out what time the pool opens. People are looking to say, how long does room service work, or what's on the menu for room service, etc. The risk reward ratio is like the reward of providing information to my customer base and the potential risk of consequences is equally, is easily in the favor of the risk is upwards. Let's use technology to navigate these conversations for consumers. In a real estate transaction, there is significant risk that is attached towards automation, potentially damaging your reputation. And this is what I invite people to think about when they're looking at how technology can support conversational moments. What is the cost of it not working? What is the cost of it upsetting somebody? Look at it like it's therapy. If you are sharing information with somebody to help them package and process your thoughts and feelings, and you believe that person is emotionally invested in you and the outcome on what's best for you, and you then find out that that person is not a person, how do you feel as the consumer?
Trust is lost.
Right? Trust is broken. So I think it's a very, very sensitive period. And I believe that in high ticket, high stakes, high trust marketplaces, as the world shifts towards AI and the world shifts towards further automations, my pendulum would swing the other way and say, well, how do I be the highly emotionally intelligent individual in the transaction? Because what they're not looking for knowledge, they're looking for intuition. They're not looking for information, they're looking for wisdom. These are different things. It's not artificial wisdom.
Yeah.
And as much as there's an upsurgence of digital communications, I think there's another side of this, that there could be an upsurgence in high-level professional humans now getting a chance to win. And the average humans, they will get replaced by technology.
Yeah.
So I think the change is we're going to assume that many communications were not crafted or created by the individual that's sharing. That's how consumers are going to start to think. And I even experience it now in my own personal Instagram account, in DMs, etc. Is people think they are not speaking to me. So it's not.
I first didn't think it was you either.
Right.
When I was
Correct.
like, hold on, is this really him? Or is it right?
Yeah.
And then it became clear it was you. Right?
Correct.
But I didn't know.
That's the chance. Is that's where I see the change is that the consumer is going to believe that they're speaking to a machine, a pre-programmed robot, a automated process-driven individual in a call center. They're not going to expect the humanization of moments. So the future of language in sales, I think, is the contrast to the digital automation piece. That's where I believe that there is room for growth and room for winning, yet it requires a higher level of skill than exists at mass through most sales organizations.
Yes. And the more touch points and the more times we have the opportunity to speak with someone, that's where that trust and that rapport is being built. That's what is happening there. So I think a lot of the, let's say, real estate agents or other businesses that are out there that are looking to free up their time and automate and digitalize, that's going to potentially lose clients
Well, it's going
because
to actually result in people commoditizing themselves.
Mhm.
And therefore differentiation is going to be impossible because there is no inherent trust or wisdom inside the relationship.
Right. And people are, and some people are okay with that. But I
Yeah.
think you're right. The majority of people, when it comes to making a big decision, it's not about buying or selling a house. It's
Yep.
about making sure they're making the right decision at that time in their life with this big moment,
Yep.
right? And they're already going through something. And I know that you probably mentioned this, right? Like they're already going through something in their life before making the decision to buy or sell a
That's
home.
it.
So they're needing that person to walk them through helping them
Well,
make a decision.
if a person is present, that person needs to be an ally in the decision-making process.
Hmm.
If this is about, I know what I want and I don't need any advice or any guidance, etc., no person is necessary. That's the divide that's going to happen. Is if there is confusion, I want a person and a person I can trust that can help me in the decision-making process. And think about the relationships that are valuable in your life, the relationships that are chosen, like your long-term friends. Those friendships have become valuable because of a compounded effect of a number of shared experiences. It isn't because you admire or you like that person or they make you laugh. It's the compound effect of all of those shared experiences that only exist where the Venn diagram of your life and their life overlap each other. That's where the magic of that relationship exists. And you lose that in high level customer interaction, you're a commodity.
Hmm. I like that. All right, let's get to number two here. You ready?
Yeah.
So regarding objections,
Yes.
okay? So what are some key phrases or strategies you recommend when a potential client raises a strong objection, right? Because
Yeah.
that's going to happen. But how do we do it in a way where we're not being too pushy, where we're not like, I think that's the thing with salespeople. They don't want to be pushy, but they know that they have an opportunity or they have value to add to someone.
Right.
How do we navigate that
Hmm.
to not be too pushy?
Um, Slowly. We navigate it slowly. The mistake that many people make when any form of objection is raised is they fight back at it. In fact, most objection handling training courses will teach you how to throw a better punch when somebody punches you. So we enter into what they would call a negotiation, which I would call a fight, and we're trying to win the argument or win the fight. By alternative, borrow some wisdom from martial arts, and the easiest way to not get hurt is to not get hit. So move out of the way. Most objections that are raised are just moments of confusion. So the first step with every objection that's raised is to create a space for the other person to clarify what they're really saying. That's the deflection. That's the deflation. Somebody says, hey, like, I'd like you to do it for less. You say, really? What makes you say that? And now they have to expand and they have to clarify.
Well, we can role play that a little bit right now. So if
Sure.
you said that to me, I would say, well, because the last person that I hired did it for less.
Okay. And what three things did you like best about working with those guys?
Well, I like the fact that they gave me that discount or that credit back. That was great.
Okay.
And they got the job done,
Okay.
right? And the third thing is, they were pretty easy to work with overall.
Okay. And if there was one thing you could change about working with those folks, what would it be?
Well, they're not around anymore.
Ah, interestingly. And they're not around, period?
They retired,
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. So their business model was not sustainable.
or they sold and they're on an island.
Okay.
They're on the beach.
Help me understand this. Are you looking for somebody that is going to represent your circumstances 100% professionally and knows their value and ask for their fees and can protect a price, or are you looking for a discount agent?
The first one.
Okay. And you realize that if I was to work for a discount, I probably shouldn't be the agent you'd hire.
I heard that you're great though. I just
Right?
wanted to get that discount that that other person gave.
Okay. But what you're asking me for is my best possible deal, right?
100%.
And you want to feel that the arrangement that you create with me is as good an arrangement as anybody else could have negotiated at this period of time.
Yes.
And that you're coming to me through reputation and the brand that's been built through the recommendations that you've had from others.
Yes.
Okay. How fair would it be if I gave you a price that was different to the price I gave those people?
Well, I think the last guy gave me a better deal than he probably gave the other people too, but
Okay.
I felt okay about it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you the same deal that I give everybody else. And that's the way I like to do business, clean and honest, where everybody gets the same price.
It's great.
You see a challenge with us being able to work together under those kind of terms?
I understand that. That's good. It's
And
good.
there's just posture, and all I'm doing is asking questions around it. I'm not justifying. And I think
Yeah.
that's often what people would look to do when they're under pressure, is they move to justification. If you are justifying anything, you're already going to lose.
Yeah. And I like how you built that up too. And I think that's what a lot of agents are possibly going to be seeing in the near future here when it comes to the changes that you mentioned earlier in real estate, right? There's
Okay.
going to be people out there that feel that, hey, there's all these other people that are going to do it for X.
Yeah,
And you know what? You know, like I tell my team, I say, look, if they're just pushing on that and they're not looking for the other things that you're providing, it's maybe just not a good fit,
sure.
you know,
I think
and that's okay.
that there's truth in that. There's also a responsibility that needs to be taken in this industry right now, is the consumer doesn't understand.
Hmm.
That's not their fault. And because the consumer doesn't understand, the only thing they are left to feel confident and strong about is their ability to negotiate the price. They don't understand what the variables are because they've never been asked to consider what the variables are between different professionals representing them in a home purchase transaction. That's on us.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's another great example where slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And it may well be that it's not a good fit, but let's be certain that the reason they're going somewhere else is because it's not a good fit. Let's get to a point that you're Ruth Chris's steakhouse and they were looking for a McDonald's hamburger. And everybody knows that. That's okay. Like, all in the business of selling beef. But they're just presented and packaged with a different value experience around it.
Hmm.
But you have to get the consumer to realize they're not getting Ruth Chris for McDonald's pricing. They're getting McDonald's for McDonald's pricing. And you're not going to tell them that. You have to have them understand it. So even questions like, well, what do you understand about the potential risks that are attached to working with an inexperienced agent?
So I like that, and I'm hearing that. And I think one of the takeaways for all of us right now is if someone is objecting and saying they need it for less, it's the first thing we're saying is not, well, maybe we're just not a good fit.
No,
Because that's just running away from it.
it's not owning the problem.
Take it head on and help unpack all of the things to make sure that they're
Right?
aware of what we're doing and what they're getting into, like how you just did, right?
Yeah. Like,
And then,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna own a situation really quickly right now that's interesting. Is when I was setting up my new office here, we ordered some furniture for the office that was going to take 2 to 3 weeks to be able to get here. And I needed something quicker than that to be set up. One of those items is the desk that I'm stood at here today working from. And the service that I ordered for the desk that was coming 3 weeks late included white glove service, and that was then going to be built up, etc. What ended up happening is that this actually got here slightly quicker than was planned. but I ordered another desk in its place to be able to come behind it. Much cheaper, was going to save me a fortune. It was Amazon. It was quick delivery. It got delivered to the wrong address. It didn't get delivered to my office. It got delivered to my home. But it wasn't a problem in the end because this great company came through quicker than expected and built this desk up at home. Yesterday, i.e. Sunday at the weekend, the desk that got delivered to my house, I decided to build it in my basement and use it as a secondary workspace down in the basement for laundry supplies, etc. Took me 3 hours. And then I've got to go and take the trash out and deal with all the paper and find out whether these 3 screws that apparently are extra need to go somewhere else. And the $1,200 desk cost me $1,200. The $300 desk cost me $300 plus half my Sunday. And half my Sunday is worth more than $900 to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this same level of education is required for people to understand what type of agent they would look for. But it means you have to understand the type of people that you're looking to be able to serve. There are only 3 things that people really value. One is the saving or making of money. The other is the saving or making of time. And then the third is the mitigation of risk. These are the 3 things that you can build your value around. Now, if you are looking to work with first-time buyers, and the first-time buyers you're looking to work with are far out in their buying process, and they're going to want to look at 30, 40, 50 homes before they feel confident enough they're in the right location, the right area, at the right price point. Well, isn't it fair to charge them a different price than what you might charge somebody who's found the home that they're looking for and is ready to be able to write an offer, and it's the 3rd home that they purchased? It's a different level of service, right?
It is.
And this is where agents need to be able to move to. They need to understand what occasions are they looking to serve. And if you are with somebody further out, then you say, well, here's how I save you time. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go visit homes for you on behalf, is I'll do FaceTime showings for you so you don't have to give up your weekend, is I'll help you dismiss properties that you don't have to go and see so that you don't use the time that was needed. When it does come to you finding a home that you look to move forward with, my trusted group of network of providers will make sure you get a great price on your inspection. You'll get a great mortgage product. All of the ancillary services you're going to need to move will be discounted as a result of the relationships I can provide. But more importantly, you won't overpound the house. More importantly, you'll know what it is you're buying. So we'll mitigate any of the risk that's in the process so you don't get stung with any unknown expenses after closing. That's why you charge XYZ. But that's an education process. But that's only valuable to somebody that is looking to see a number of homes. What do you do for somebody that is ready to be able to buy? You have to be able to package your value to say, here's how I save you or make you time. Here's how I save you or make you money. And some of this might be, well, if you found the home you're looking for, chances are other people have found it too. So I'm going to help you write an offer that means that you get the price, get the house, but you get the house without having to, bid through the ceiling for it and give up all your contingencies.
Right.
What else I'm going to do is manage the process for you end to end so that it doesn't fall through. What else I'm going to do is boom, 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 boom. And that's why I charge blank.
Yeah.
But the reasons have to add up.
You bring up a very good example because I just went through that where someone knew the house they wanted. They already selected it, right?
Yep.
And they just wanted me to come in, make the deal happen, get them through the process.
Right.
And in their mind, like anyone else's mindset would be, well, I didn't have to look for weeks or months on end. And right. But hold on a second. What happens after the offer's written and gets accepted and all of the things that could come up then?
Correct.
That could not maybe be months of time, obviously, but maybe years of expertise and seasoning that we had to go through to get them through that in order to get them to the finish line, right?
Sure. All of that. But this is what needs to be rewritten into what your service provisions are.
Mm-hmm.
Because the risk that most agents are going to have, they're going to say, here's the shopping list of things that I can do to support buyers and sellers. That's why I'm worth my money.
Mm-hmm.
And buyers and sellers are going to look at that list and say, I don't need half of those things. So how much less do I pay? What you're better to be able to do is to say, these are the 7 things I do for people that are in this specific set of circumstances. These are the 7 or 9 things that I do for people in this circumstances, and show them a strong list of highly valuable things to that moment. And then what you've got is like, oh, that's worth it.
Yeah. I like that. That's
Yep.
that could be a whole nother topic in itself.
It's huge.
So building trust, and you mentioned something before. You said you might have only 90 seconds, right? So building trust quickly, right? Obviously, trust is the major factor here in growing relationships. Um, what are some subtle cues or phrases that can help build that trust quickly, or let alone just cues or phrases, but how do we just build trust quickly?
There's a button that lives inside the head of every decision maker on the planet. It's a button that I call the show me that you know me button. The minute you hit the show me that you know me button, now we're aligned.
Mm.
In the real estate space, what you must remember is nobody wants to buy a house. Also remember, nobody wants to sell a house. They want to buy a house because, and they want to sell a house because. The fastest route to trust is to understand the problem they're trying to solve, not the solution they're trying to create. If you understand the problem, you can find solutions. If you try and sell them on solutions, they'll say that's not the problem. So if you think somebody's looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home under 750,000 in the ABC area, that's saying that you understand the solution. But without knowing the problem, that solution might be wrong. So the fastest route to trust is to understand their context. Help me understand, what is it about this house that makes you think it potentially is a good fit for you?
Well, I call that the devil's advocate, right? When we're in a home, or even before we're in a home, I'm asking the client, you know, I want you to tell me why this home is going to be better than that home.
Sure.
Because if you can articulate that to me, then we're probably going in the right direction.
Right.
Versus that kitchen's just gorgeous or whatever, all
Yep.
of the sexy appeal, right? And really walk them through that. That's a very important question.
Mm-hmm. And it's
And
about playing in the gray space as well. Look at the language. Help me understand, what is it about this particular home that makes you think that this might be a great fit for you? There's a play space that's been created with that container that has them just pour out. And it's your ability to be able to create these little open containers that people can safely fill with new information that earns you more context.
it's really just being very aware of the words
Mm-hmm.
we're saying. Because I think that some professionals don't know that they're creating this gray space. They just
Mm-hmm.
are, and they just continue rising to the top in the industry, right? And they're not sure what they're doing. They're just doing it.
Yep.
And then there's some people in any industry that just keep hitting a roadblock. They don't know what it is. And I think one of the biggest takeaways of today for everyone is the fact that it's not all of the skill sets. You don't have to go to another class about in your industry. You don't have to put in more hours
That's
in
right.
the office or in the field. It's dissect what is it that you're saying? What are you writing to people? How are you engaging them, and understanding exactly what to say will
Here's a
help.
real simple methodology action for people listening in right now. Decide today who your top 100 are. Who are your top 100 relationships that you're looking to protect and do business with in the future? I don't mind whether that's next 30, 60, 90 days or next 30, 60, 90 months, right? It doesn't matter. And then engage in a series of meaningful, curiosity-fueled conversations with them to a point that you have a deep understanding and contextualized viewpoint on what their potential, maybe possible plans are for real estate in the future, without asking them, what are your real estate plans for the future? And my rally cry on that is, please, please, pretty please, do not pay for leads in 2025, 26, 27, 28, 29 that you could have earned today. And I want you all to know that people that you think are in your top 100 are also going to be presented to your competitors as leads if you don't wrap that up.
Mm.
And these are the conversations to be having. Don't wait for the phone to ring, the contact form to ping, for you to get a lead from one of the online portals. Take 100 people that you would like to do business with at some point in time in the future and find out what they like about where they're living right now, how long they see themselves living there. Find out what might be some of the potential possible catalysts that could create a change. Give them a place to be able to dream. Give them ability to be able to share what the potential trigger points are that could catalyze a move. And now what you've done is you've built a pantry of ingredients that you can stay in a never-ending conversation with them about. If they share, no, we're probably going to be here for the next 7 years till Jimmy's done with middle school. You've now got a conversational thread about how's Jimmy doing at middle school. Not, are you ready to move yet? You have to understand the contextualized moments that exist within people's lives that trigger the need for them to make a real estate transaction.
So what are the common mistakes? What are some of those mistakes that people are making, and how do we avoid that?
People are too lazy to get involved in conversations far back from the transactional moment. They're waiting till people are ready, and then they're looking to win the 30, 60, 90-day sprint. Listing agents are the worst at this as well. Like, they're waiting till somebody's decided they want to sell their house, and then they're like, how do I win the me versus two others conversation, when they could have just been the only person in the room.
Right.
Like, we allowed it to get to the fact that we are in this my dad's better than your dad argument. Whereas we could have wrapped that up a long way further out by being in the conversation earlier. What we do is we wait for consumers to decide they want to do something, and then we say we're here to help. What we should be doing is we should be working with consumers when they're in the thinking about possibly, potentially, perhaps making a move phase.
How do we engage them though? Like, what are we saying to them? Because I have a couple things that we do, but I'm just curious on your perspective, like, because we don't want to be pushy. We don't want to be selling them. They're not ready. They said they're going to be here for at least another 7 years. Like, what is the engagement? I mean, there's only so many times I can ask how middle school is going.
Sure. Which is why we need a whole plentiful number of things that are going on. We want a pantry full of ingredients. So let's say this is somebody that you sold a home to 2.5 years ago. Let's say this is somebody that you almost sold a home to 2.5 years ago. I would pick up the phone, or I'd make some form of outreach. I'd say, hey, it's Phil calling from Keller Williams or wherever. A couple of years back, we were having discussions about you potentially making a move to the ABC area. And they're like, yep, I was. Did you manage to move to the area, or did you find somewhere else that suited you better? And they're going to tell you. And then you're going to say, well, how's it been going for you since? And they're like, I know this one. And then you're going to be like, so where are you at right now? What's your current situation in the home? And they're like, yeah, it's pretty good, but we're bursting at the seams. We could potentially do with some more space. I mean, the kids take up more room than I thought they would. You say, well, what are your plans from here? And they say, well, we haven't got anything figured out yet, but we're always semi-looking. You say, well, when was the last time you found yourself just wishing and dreaming and looking at the online portals about where you could be living instead? So it's funny you say that. We were doing it, sat in bed last night. Right? You say, well, what are some of the things that you've seen that are on the market right now in the neighborhood? Is there anything that caught your eye? They say, well, yeah, I mean, there was one, but it's way out of our price range right now. You say, right now, do you think that could change in the future? They're like, yeah. I mean, we got some debt that's clearing up, and I've got some inheritance that's coming my way. That's probably the price point we'd be looking at. You say, have you ever been in a home that looks like that? They say, I've never even stepped in it. I'm just looking at the video tour online. You say, hey, just for fun, you want to go take a look at it? They say, you do that for me. You say, yeah, sure. I know you're not in the market to be able to buy right now, but as a real estate professional that's committed to be able to help you understand it, is the last thing you want to be is ready and with the money and miss the house that's right for you because you've never stood in a house that's anywhere like it. When would be a good time for me to be able to arrange a showing for you? And what are we doing is we're putting ourselves in the mess without them feeling like they need to. What do you now do? You get that same buyer under a buyer's agency agreement now. Isn't it easy to get them to be able to agree to work with you when they haven't found the house?
Very little pressure.
No, it's just the obvious part of the value. But what we're trying to do is to shut the gate after the horse is bolted.
Yeah.
Just get ahead of it and look after the horse in pasture. So the mistake we're making is we're not getting to the conversation early enough. And in your industry, every human being is a lead. Why does somebody have to say I'm a lead for them to be a lead?
Well, I think because you said before, they're looking for the person that's right now.
Yep.
Right. So what we've done is we've kind of, I don't like to label or anything, but we've categorized different people, right? They're either a buyer today or the near future. They're a seller today or the near future. They're renting, right?
Yep.
Then there's investors, right?
Yep.
And then the fifth category, and I test this with agents, right? I'm like, so what's the 5 categories, right? What would you say people are, kind of always one of these 5?
Yep.
And I don't tell them the fifth one. I say, I want you to think about it, right? They're either buying now or the near future, they're selling now or the near future, they're investing,
Yep.
or they're renting.
Right.
What's the fifth category? And they just, deer in the headlights, right? And I'm like, think of when you're doing an open house and you're out and about, when you're just living life and you're meeting people, they're just homeowners.
Right.
They're just homeowners. They're not looking to do anything right now. They're just owning their home. And you can add value to each one of those categories at all times. You just need to know what type of value, right? How to help them and support them based on where they are in those categories.
The most helpful thing you can do to homeowners is just understand where they're at in their journey.
Yeah.
It's not like, here's a phantom equity report, or like, here's cookies, or here's a water bottle with my logo on it.
We've done all that.
Yeah. It's genuinely care.
Yeah.
It's lead with love. It's understand what's happening in their world and create a vehicle that allows them to be able to share with you where they're at. And I take this to an extreme, right? So look at a situation like people dealing with a tragedy or a loss in their life of a loved one, right? What often people do is they say things like, if there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to ask. It's possibly one of the worst things you could say to somebody that is going through a tough time. Because what you're doing is you're adding a burden to their already burden-fueled moment. You're saying, teach me how I can be helpful to you, because I'm too lazy to understand how I can be helpful.
Wow.
Whereas actually, if you knew enough about the person and you knew what help would look like in their life, you don't have to offer help, you just help. Right? If you just showed up and said, look, no doubt you're going to be snowed under with 1,000 other things. The last thing you need to worry about is making sure that you've got meals for the kids every night. So I've got a meal prep service that's taking care of the kids for the next 5 nights. They'd be like, thanks.
Yeah.
Instead,
that's such a powerful thing, Phil. That's so powerful. Because we all know someone that's going through a hard time. And I think that is the first thing that people say. And they're not saying it out of hurt. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do, but to stop thinking of what to say maybe and just start doing something.
Correct.
And
like, you look at a homeowner that says, like, we think we're going to redevelop the back barn and we're going to turn the barn into blank, blank, and blank. What's helpful to them is, oh, you've just seen something that's an inspo post on inspiration, like on Instagram, etc. Like, join them in the dream project that they're looking to be able to work on. They're like, oh, we want to put a new pool in on the backyard. Is you see a new technology about pool surfaces or coverings, etc. Is like, hey, have you seen this? They're like, no, I haven't. Thanks for sharing. That's helpful. Instead of just checking in, seeing if you've got any housing needs. I got a report that tells you your house is now worth X and your equity position is Y. And they're like,
it means nothing to them because they're not looking to sell anyway.
Not contextualized in any way. And actually, the risk reward ratio is upside down again. Because if they don't agree, they're like, this guy full of SHIT.
That's right. That's right.
They're like, he doesn't even know. He hasn't even seen what we did in the bathroom. I mean, we changed those door handles. That has to make it worth at least an extra 25,000. What does he know? How can he tell me what my house is worth? He hasn't been in it for 18 months.
I think what you were touching on when, not just saying, what can I do for you? Or let me know if you need anything. I mean, that comes into like personal development, right? And there's a lot of different ways that we can all develop better. Um, what are some habits or practices that you're really into right now that can help on more of that personal development? Empathy is a big word right now. I mean, it has
Yep.
been, but it's really just everyone's using empathy, and so what are some habits or things on the personal development side that you see that we can hone in on our communication skills better? What are some things that we can be doing?
Well, the best definition I ever heard for the word empathy comes from a speaker author friend of mine by the name of John Acuff. And John Acuff defines empathy as to care about what the people you care about care about. So if you're wondering what you could be doing on a personal development point of view, take some time to meditate, walk, take a quiet space, run on a treadmill, to intentionally add some thoughtful thought to the key relationships in your life and realize how many blind spots you currently have. Like, even within our nearest and dearest relationships, how much don't you know? How much are you assuming that you understand what is valuable to your spouse, your kids, your friends, your parents, like the key relationships in your life? And I think when you do that, most of us will realize how freaking ignorant we are. Is the quiet space to say, well, actually, what are the top 12 burning concerns that exist inside my wife's world today, this week, and this month?
Hmm.
Do I know? Do I know for sure, or am I guessing? Oh, I'm guessing. Well, what could they be? What am I missing? What am I not giving a perspective or an angle to that I should be or I could be? And this could be on internal relationships, it could be on clients. But I think the realization that you know a lot less than you think you do helps us turn up our curiosity in our real world. And when you turn up your curiosity, you realize it's a superpower. You cannot access empathy without curiosity. Curiosity is the key to get there. So find out the situations you need to be asking more questions of.
Ask a lot of questions and
Well-targeted
go deeper.
questions at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear you saying things like ask a lot of questions and go deeper. It's important to me to just acknowledge something for our listeners here right now is don't shortchange that. It's not an interrogation. You're not looking to probe. You're not digging deeper or finding pain points. You're merely looking to understand. That's what you're asking questions for. And the realization is you don't know as much as you think you know. So seek to understand, because from understanding comes wisdom, from wisdom becomes action, from action becomes outcomes, outcomes create change, right? It is we are looking to be wiser, not smarter. And wisdom comes from understanding the field of play. I think too few of us even understand what we're trying to influence.
That's deep.
I mean, you could
Yeah.
ask somebody in your life, like, hey, what's on your mind? And you could ask no more questions, but create a space to stay in that question for 30 minutes. And that isn't going deeper, and that isn't asking more questions. That's creating a space and a moment for people to give you a new level of understanding.
Great question. It's good. So right now, our team is all about this right now as a team effort. Exactly what to say for real estate agents. You have other books out there. um, if this is, a first for anyone listening in or watching, Phil M. Jones, make sure to get on Instagram and follow him. It is really a daily, um, almost like a supplement for me
Mhm.
personally.
Yeah.
I was in the pool over the weekend. My parents came over. I was excited. I'm very excited right now, and coming up to this podcast with you, and I'm like, hey, I need to show you something. I need to show you about this. Have you heard of Phil M. Jones? Have you heard of Phil? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to show you a couple just teasers, and it really got us talking just on a personal level. Like it really opened a lot up,
Right.
and it was really powerful. And that's why when Danielle and I, saw you, just, kind of collecting your thoughts before the event started a couple months ago, and then it was just like everything we could have selected any restaurant, right? I mean, and you were just sitting right there, and I'm like, I have to take action right now. I have to say hello. That's just who I am, but
Yeah.
also not to, like bother you. I saw you were just doing your thing,
Yeah.
and but I wanted to make it a point to say hello, and then it just, unfolded. And this was the only book that I brought on the trip. I like to bring a book anytime I travel, and that was
Yeah.
just the book I had. So it just,
So cool.
it was one of those moments. And what you wrote in here was change your words, change your world, right? Change your words, change your world. Again, very it's impactful.
Yeah.
It is so impactful. And I
And my
think that
goal, my goal on all of that, Asher, as well, is to add more thoughtful thought and more intention to what comes out of your mouth. That's it. That's the whole mission, is for people to realize that what they ask, what they say, what they share with others, it has the ability to impact lives in ways that I think most of us shortchange. And one of the simplest of examples of this is like, how many times do we have relationships in our life where we're like, I've told them this 1,000 times, why they're not getting it? Well, the reason they might not be getting it is because of how you've told them, how you've asked them, how
mm,
you've spoken to them. And if people are more responsible to the outcome of their conversations as opposed to the action of their conversations, I think we could live in a slightly better world, a lot less hate in it.
yeah, that's very good. Before we get to any future projects that you're working on, and we want to hear from you on that, first, thanks again for being here and your time and your energy and your words.
My pleasure.
It means a lot to us, our listeners, me personally, Danielle, my parents. Just like I said this last weekend. I mean, it's really
It's exciting.
moving through, right? And you're making an impact. So you need to know that, and you need to hear that,
Thank you,
right?
Asher.
And the words, right? Right. We have one mouth, we have two ears, right? There's. I'm sure you speak on that as well. So, what are some future projects that you have coming up, or books, or
Mm-hmm.
anything you'd like to share? Because my mission with you today, and this will continue moving forward as new people are listening to it, is people need to know about you.
Thank
People
you.
need to know how you're impacting not just the real estate space, but the world in personal and business. So please share with us anything that we need to know about.
I mean, myself, the team, the family, we are fully committed to growing the Exactly What to Say movement. And that means, no shiny new objects and new projects. No, let's do this, passion project and change the script over here. This is my life's work, and it will continue to be my life's work. So we are finding new avenues and new audiences, and also new messengers to carry the message of exactly what to say, because sometimes the message is relevant and I'm not the right messenger.
Mm,
So we have our licensed and certified guides program. We are creating curriculum for people to go deeper on the application of the words, because great, you can package the exactly what to say methodology into a tiny little book you can read cover to cover in like under a couple of hours. Yet there's a lot more to it. So how do you expand on it? How do you look for people to grow their knowledge and their wisdom around it. And that's really the future work. So we have certification programs. We launched the role play cards into real estate. I'd say to anybody listening, if you want to take it a step further and just build a practice around your word choices, then grab the role play cards. If you don't know where to grab them, come via my Instagram at Phil M. Jones UK. Shoot me a note with the word role play in it, and I'll send you the link to grab the cards. My long-term mission is just to keep going.
Well, we're here to support you and be another messenger for you and to get it out there. Thank you again for being on today.
My pleasure, Asher. Thanks for the conversation.
You got it. Thank you.